Hey, good afternoon, everyone. As we engage in week 3 and you are tasked to create images using AI, I wanted to provide you with a few resources and some process. Quick note up front, if you're already using AI tools to generate images, I'm not sure how useful this lecture will be. So if you're doing it daily and you're prompting daily, my goal here is to really help those newbies who haven't really done this before. So, and I'm focused on the tool Krea. So yeah, I just want to make that clear on the front end. If you're already a power user, you may not find this to be all that useful. I intend to walk you through my process for the image prompt and then how do I edit and the Krea tool in general. So let's jump into it. First of all, I'll show you some context. What am I using AI for? I wear a couple hats in a couple different businesses, but one that requires a lot of AI generation is I'm the kind of fractional CMO for a new product, a business that's going to be selling a new product. The product is a NFC enabled wristband, tap to pay, tap to access your dorm room or your hotel room. It has a whole bunch of other things that it does, but in general, the tap to pay is the key feature. The purpose, the mission of the organization, it was really built to get kids away from their phones. The founder, who is also the founder of the silicone wedding ring business, has a few young children, and he does not want them on phones, but he wants them to have some freedom to run around, go to the ball game, pay for your stuff without cash or cards or phones. So he built this product, and we're quickly ramping up. Right now we're focused on B2B. So we're going after institutions of higher education. We're going after the Department of Defense. We're going, or the Department of War now, I guess what they call it. NGOs like Tim Tebow's Foundation, St. Jude's, as a way for them to, every time you tap, the organization will get a penny or two or three or whatever the relationship is contractually obligated to say. So if I'm Tim Tebow and I need to have a new source of revenue, I can give all of my followers, my supporters, a band, or they can buy a band for $20 or $40, and every time they use it, a couple pennies get sent back to the foundation that I love so much. That's the construct behind this. That's the pitch, and we're finding a lot of traction. So I'm building a crap ton of decks, and the wearing the hat of a CMO or a chief marketing operator isn't always glamorous. You're not just in meetings. You actually have to roll up your sleeves, especially in a startup environment. And so I'm doing a lot of deck generation. And let me just show you an example. You don't want to see my chat. Where are we at here? We'll try Google Slides. Okay, so for example, we are running a use case with the University of Texas. The Longhorns are going to buy a couple thousand bands and test this in their on campus. Tap to pay, tap into classes, tap into ball games. It's a whole ecosystem. The first graphic that we used with AI was this original image here. This young lady in the middle is our sales rep. Our sales rep is pushing 50. She went to the University of Texas. She's a very successful salesperson, business person, and so I used AI to take her picture at 50 and say, make her 20 years old and put her in this crowd at the University of Texas ball game. So we get to kick off the presentation with kind of a wink and a laugh because they recognize her. It looks a lot like her. So we used AI to create some humor and some personalization, not just to Texas, but to our salesperson. You can see that we also put bands on wrists through the AI prompt. So all these kids are wearing University of Texas bands. We've got our sales rep in the middle. And then we move into adding context. This slide's about, the students get the band when they show up to school and they register for their classes. Students get the band when, like the marketing campaign, we would show students in action. So these guys are at the coffee shop. You can see I kept kind of a end of the day golden light kind of motif on these graphics just to be consistent. It does have a slight AI veneer, but we were okay with that because this is a pitch. We're not trying to be super realistic. Here you have a collage of students wearing the band, an NIL person on the phone, just to really reinforce what's going on. And this is where it gets fun. AI is able to generate whatever celebrity I want it to. Put Matthew McConaughey at a ball game wearing our brand new version of the wristband. Here's another version of him. It's at the ball game, tap for Texas. Right, showing him using it at the bookstore. So I can prompt, put the person in the University of Texas bookstore. He's wearing the band. He's tapping it to pay. All of this is done in minutes, not hours. Years ago, think about it, would have taken me hours and hours to find the stock, to go do the Google searches, depending on your process and how you're going to do it. And then you have to Photoshop it and try to make it work. Some of these have the AI veneer, but a lot of these are good enough that we don't have to worry about that. Here's celebrities, like famous alumni from Texas. Here's a beautiful product shot. I'm giving it 2 separate images and I'm saying put them together and using best-in-class product photography. Here's the textures I need you to do. Here's the lighting I need you to do. Giving it the prompt, and it's producing these professional grade imagery. Love it. I just love it. That's my current process to build these presentations, is to use AI to provide personalization to the presentation, to use AI to provide real world people wearing the bands in real time, in real spaces. I'm not overly concerned about the AI veneer, or it would probably take me a little more time to try and remove that from this polish. Some of that veneer just comes from my request to lighting, the certain type of lighting that I'm asking for. So I've done 120 decks in the last few months. I have a call. They say, hey, we need to do OU. Okay, I take the Texas deck. I put it in GPT. I say, GPT, rewrite this entire deck to speak to Oklahoma University. Change all the references to Texas to Oklahoma. Change all the locations from Texas to Oklahoma. Make everything Oklahoma focused. It's the Sooner band. Go. And it rewrites everything. And I can copy and paste it into the new deck. And then when I go to Krea, which is the tool I'll show you here in a minute, I can show them. This is another example of a AI graphic we use. It looks like, best in class, almost real world example there. I can go to Krea and I can say, change the band from Texas to Oklahoma. Change the logos and colors and bands from Texas to Oklahoma. These are the exact same shots. He wanted, my sales guy says, I need more diversity. Or this guy looks like too much like Brian's Bosworth. Give me somebody else. I'm able to drop in somebody else. In Krea, I can say, change the person to an African American. It does it like that. It's crazy. So here, and now we've got Brian Bosworth. Brian's holding, he's the famous, you can see him in the Dr. Pepper commercials. He's the famous OU alumni. And just a quick side tangent here is there's an ethical situation with all this, right? We're studying that in class. We're understanding the laws. The laws are being written, actually. Every organization is going to have their own policy on what the creative team can and can't do when it comes to using AI to generate the final output. And if you're B2C and you've got a high budget and you're a big brand, you probably need to be careful because you might get sued. Is it appropriate for Dropband to use Brian Bosworth's picture in an advertisement? Hell no. We would never do that. But I might shoot this graphic to Brian Bosworth's team when I want to pitch him to come promote the band for OU. Hey, Brian, why don't you come to campus? We're going to do a photo shoot. It's going to look like this. Check it out. And it looks just like him. Same thing with Matthew McConaughey. We might call Matthew McConaughey's people and say, here's the final output. How much is it going to cost us for you to either approve this graphic or come do the photo shoot with us? I think Matthew McConaughey actually just is one of the first actors to license his voice so that you can't grab it off of the internet. We'll talk about Scarlett Johansson and how Google ChatGPT OpenAI tried to poach her voice without asking for permission when this came out a few years ago. So how is this all going to work? I don't know. It's exciting times in the marketing mix. And I do know when you're comping, when you're creative directing the campaigns and you want to show how it might look down to the detail, AI is making that exponentially easier. You can comp these things up fast and see what it looks like in real time. You can get people excited. Here's what we're thinking about doing. And in this case, it's working for us. So you notice the difference in it's shifting gears here. You know the difference between this lighting and all the glow. And here, the goal is to show a real student checking into the game. Instead of tickets, you can use the band to tap in. I had a really hard time getting Krea to understand Nano Banana, to understand I needed an over-the-shoulder graphic. I needed the crowd to be for him. I wanted there to be more energy. I couldn't figure it out. It was taking me too long. Every time you generate an image, it's costing you money. So there's some balance there of like, okay, we're just going to call it good. So that's the context in which I am using AI. I use GPT to rewrite the decks based off the new client. You can see tons and tons of decks. And I'm dropping these in and saying reskin Iowa to Penn State and Penn State to Illinois and Illinois to NYU and NYU to Georgia. If you're in a business where you have a lot of step and repeat, AI can automate that for you relatively quickly. Now, I don't use AI to build my decks yet. I've tried it and it looks like crap. GPT will sometimes take it at my request as asking it to build a PowerPoint for me. So I'll get a PowerPoint back. I'm like, I didn't ask for a PowerPoint. I wanted you to rewrite the copy. The PowerPoint it gave me, it looks like crap. So you should test it. You'll see what I mean. There isn't, like if your boss ever comes to you and says, well, can't we just use AI to build the PowerPoint? Not yet. Not even with Gamma, in my opinion. It just isn't there yet. So it can rewrite everything for you. You can copy and paste it, check it, copy, paste, put it in, step and repeat type stuff. It really helps a lot. So that's the context in which I'm using AI a lot right now for these B2B presentations. The tool that I'm using then is called Krea AI. Krea is a model aggregator. It gives you access to all the different AI models that generate imagery, except for Midjourney. Midjourney is proprietary, it doesn't share its API. Midjourney is the Cadillac of image generators. It is a premium product. In my mind, to use Midjourney, you have to have some talent, and you have to have a mind that understands how to calibrate the tool in a way that most don't. It needs a lot of time. It needs a lot of time and practice and effort, like anything in creative, like any kind of craft. Midjourney really does require the craftsmanship of a creative versus a GPT or even Krea to some degree, where you can kind of spitball. I'm looking for this thing. I'm going to tweak this. It gives me the thing. Midjourney it's beautiful. It's a beautiful tool. I shared Meg Ball this last week in her fashion work. She's a master of craft with AI. She mastered her craft as a creative, and she's using the Midjourney tool to amplify that craft. Maybe that's a better way to put it. These other tools, these model aggregators like Krea and Artlist AI, are more for practitioners. You're not necessarily mastering a craft. You just need to get things done. You have an idea. You want to see what it looks like. Let's do it. So it gives you access to an image generator. It gives you access to video. It gives you access to an enhancer, which is, if you're familiar with that, you have a low res picture. You want it to become high res. There's ways to do it. I'm not sure how the software works, but you can take a low res graphic to a high res using Topaz and a few other engines. They have a real-time editor, which I have not tried yet. And basically you're drawing in real time and it's rendering your idea in real time. It's pretty fascinating. We'll see more and more of that. It has a high compute cost. So if you got an unlimited budget and your boss is like, dude, it's open season. Spend whatever you need to spend. Real time, it's pretty fascinating. It'll cost you some money, but you'll be able to see your ideas come to life. You have an advertise you want to make. You want to show the car on a wet street versus a dry street versus a mountain versus on top of a bag of nickels versus, underwater. The real time will let you do all of that relatively fast. And then you have edit. I'll show you the edit tool today. And then you have this folder called assets. So we'll click on image. And down here in the bottom, I can choose, move this over here. I can choose my image model. Krea, Flux, Flux 2, Nano Banana, Quen, ChatGPT, Seed Dream, Flux 2, Imogen, Kling. Like there's just a ton of them out there. Which one's the best? That's where craftsmanship gets into place. That's where proprietary preference comes into play. It's not my business. In my opinion, it's not my place to tell you this is the best tool versus another tool. You need to explore all of these. You will find if you put a prompt in for Krea and then you put a prompt in for Nano Banana, there's a very distinct difference. We could do it real quick. I could probably show you. This prompt results in this kind of image. I wanted a woman tapping her wrist to a payments device at a coffee shop in Malta. So I'm going to copy this prompt. I just click it to copy. I'm going to put it in here, paste it. I'm going to keep it on Krea 1. Notice the compute power for Krea. It takes 8 seconds and 6 units of power. Nano Banana takes 30 seconds and 920 units of power. ChatGPT takes 184 units, and then I think the most expensive one here is Flux 2, 381. Now, the way I understand that is the more energy it's using, the more brain it's turning on, the better your graphic is going to be. So let's show you. Flux, zoom back out, Krea 1. I've got my prompt. This is what Nano Banana gave me with this prompt. I am going to go and hit Krea 1, and it's going to give me 4 versus 2, but you'll see the difference. Same exact prompt. The prompt images for this were a coffee shop and the wristband, by the way. I'll show you that in a second. So they have all the same references. So the issue here is her band has clasps, which I told it not to have. It got really thick. I'm not sure what she's holding over here. There's another hand down here. And then there's this kind of weirdness over here. So it hallucinates. The lower the compute, the less quality you're going to get. It just depends on what you need to do. For me, I have found Nano Banana's quality is excellent. It's become a kind of an industry go-to. And so that's what I use when I do my prompting and my image generation for those decks. Okay, what's my process? I know that I have to create an image for the band in Malta. We're going to try and get the island of Malta, an island off of Europe and Africa, I think, to adopt the band as part of their tourism. Buy the band when you show up. You can use it in any place, location. Every time someone uses it, Malta gets a little couple pennies back. So I need to so this is where the creative direction comes in, right? This is where your creativity, the human in the loop, the meat in the middle, as I like to say. You have to think through what you want. What's the right way in? Okay, well, we're at Malta. Let's find a landmark. Let's find the landmarks at Malta. And in this case, I found a famous, popular coffee shop. Look at the roof of that coffee shop. That's distinct to Malta. So I found an image of that coffee shop, and I gave it the image of the band, and I said in the prompt, put that band on the wrist. Now, you can see the prompts in here, the two images in here, but I went to GPT first. And I went to GPT and I gave it the images, the location, and the wristband, and I said, in this case, not that particular one, but in this case, I gave it this image, famous landmark of the street, coffee shop on the street, looking at a beautiful image. It's only the only place in the world that looks like this is Malta. Okay, I want to have someone at a table, tapping to pay with this as the background. That's the goal. So, and then here's my band picture. I copy and paste the band picture and put it in. I give GPT those two images, and I tell it, use these images as the background and a baseline for the best in class Nano Banana image prompt. And here are the following guidelines. You see the waiter's hand holding a payment device on the left. You see a beautiful Nordic woman holding her wrist to tap to pay, tap to pay motion on the right. On her wrist is a thin elastic microfiber band, white with a red center. See attached. It's a beautiful day. That is the only prompt, my prompt for it to write the prompt. And here's what it gave me. It's rather extensive. It is inferring some of the things I didn't say. So I always read the prompts that sometimes, not always. I've gotten to a place where I know, you kind of know what it's going to do. So I read it and I'll test it. So I'll spend a couple pennies and I'll drop it in. Let me go to the actual, what's one of these? And I'll drop it into Krea. I'll choose Nano Banana. I'll give it the two images I gave GPT. So I'm taking these two images I gave it, and I run the test. And this was the result. So my original image had a beer in it. I don't know if it has it in here. Does it have it in this one? Yeah, you can see the original image has this beer. And I didn't think to take that out. So when Krea gave me the result based on the original prompt, it kept the beer on the table. And it might have worked if this arm was actually touching the device. But it's not. So the beer's not really working. It got confused on which arm. This one's, the arm's going to knock over the beer. You can see the Nordic woman has hairy legs and a weird shoe. So the first pass, bad. I went back to, not bad, just not great. I went back to my GPT prompt and I said, This is good, but we need to keep the arm and wrist in proportion, not distorted, and the table should extend to the left. That's all I said in correction here. I didn't necessarily address the positioning. I just gave it that simple thing. It gave me a new prompt, and this was the result. Okay, now I get to see the girl. That's not true. I also told it to get rid of the beer. I must have missed my prompt there. I did go in. I might have gone in here, and I said get rid of the beer glass. Let me see. Keep the same location. Oh no, I didn't. Well, maybe I didn't edit it well enough. Either way, I told it to get rid of the beer glass, and I told it to add in the coffee. And so this was the next attempt. And it's not bad. The only problem is her wrist becomes like a child. Like all of a sudden her hand is super small. Her arm is huge and her hand is super small. Not quite right. Here, I like everything about this, but she's so stiff. It's just way too and the way they cropped it, it didn't work. So we went back and at this point I'm playing with the prompt. But again, if I had to write all this myself, it would take forever. So I'm asking GPT to write my prompts through giving it the note of best practices. You know the best practices of image prompting. You know the best practices of image prompting for Nano Banana, or maybe it's Quinn I'm using, or maybe it's something else. But I always try to make it specific to the model I want it to use. And now, to be fair, I don't know that it makes that much of a difference. I really don't. What I understand about the prompting is the more specific you can be, the better. And the more specific you can be about its experience, what it knows or doesn't know, or telling it that it needs to find best in class, then it will, there's a better chance I will get a best in class prompt. So we went back to the not necessarily the drawing board, but I went back to Nano Banana and I said, give me the coffee. I need the table to extend, and I need it to be more visible. So here there was a close-up. The band got too big in this one. The bands just got too thick. They made it too thick. And over here, the band's too thick, but I was okay with everything else. I see your face. I see your arm. It looks natural. We see the distance in the background. It's a little blurry, and I'll show you what we did about that. So to fix the wristband, because it's too thick, I went into Photoshop and did that myself. I didn't want to spend more money trying to get AI to make the band thinner. I haven't figured out how to do that. You need to make the product thinner in width. I have not figured out I think there needs to be science language that it would understand to take it and skinny it up. But for this case, it only took me 10 minutes in Photoshop to edit this so that the band was thinner, and we used this at deck, and he loved it because of the landmark component of the background. What made this successful? It was my strategy. Right, it was my mind that said it should be Malta's landmark. I could have said, put the person in Malta to tap to pay, and who knows what it would have done. It wouldn't have worked. Whatever it was, it wouldn't have been right. So we were able to get the results we needed, and it worked pretty well. I mean, to recap, I'm using GPT. I'm giving it my reference images. I'm thinking through the strategy before I ever get started. I kind of have an idea of what I want. Back in the day, we would draw thumbnails. And I still do to some extent. Depends on how fast I'm moving. You'll draw the thumbnail. You'll think through the composition. You'll think through the elements that you want in the composition. What contextually, what do people do on Malta? Well, they're probably not at a Starbucks, right? They're probably not necessarily shopping at a mall. They're in environments and they're buying little European cups of coffee and they're having a wonderful time. So you have to think through the strategy of that. As you take this class and you work on your campaign and you're building your personas, you understand who they are, where they live, what they're doing, that gives you the insights you need to tell the AI what to do. And that's always been the process, except instead of working with photographers or 3D renderers or a huge production team or 7 graphic designers, you now have access to all of those in the AI tool, in my opinion. You can now at least mock it up to show them, even as the CMO, even as the marketing director or manager or intern. You could be proactive and jump into this and give them a visual that says, well, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, who cares? But if you have the strategy behind it, this is what I'm thinking and why, now you're deadly. Now you bring value because you just did a lot of work that, especially with the visual, that in the past would have taken a lot of time. Creatives get a little grumpy about that. Not everybody can be a creative. You're stepping in my turf. You're stepping on my time. Frankly, I don't care. Some of the most creative people I've ever worked with were marketing directors, not creative directors. Some of the best creative directors I've ever worked with were writers, not designers. The strategy piece of the output has always been more impressive to me than necessarily the execution of the output. So all that to say, we landed on a good solution, and part of that is because we had a solid foundation with the reference images. We've asked AI to help us write the prompts, so they're that much more powerful than me trying to bang it out. You saw my prompt for Halo. It sucked. It was just real quick. It did the job, but I'm not going to become a master craftsman of image prompting if that's my approach. I need to ask GPT to give me the prompt. I need to read the prompts quickly, and I need to test and see the outcomes and then reread them and tweak it. What I liked about this is I didn't even think about that beer being a problem. Our brand in general is a little more elegant. We're kind of the guy running the people running the show are wealthy, right? They have kind of that luxury thing. They like luxury things, and so they want the brand to come across as high end and luxury. They don't drink beer either. Crazy. I don't know. I enjoy a good beer. These guys don't drink beer. So if I were to show them an image with a beer in it, I'd probably get smacked. They wouldn't have said too much, but there would have been a cue. So sometimes I didn't think about that up front, but when I saw it, I went, crap, that's clunky. Oh, by the way, the boss doesn't like beer that much, personally. So I better not show a beer. Let's show a coffee. Let's make it more high end. That's the creative process. That's the critical thinking and the problem solving you're doing. And the tool gives you that visual quickly to help you see things faster. And the bulb switches will flip. Okay, so that was the image direction tool. I'm not going to show you the video tool. We can do that later. Enhancer. Let's look at the enhancer tool. It gives you an option to upload an image. And I don't know that I kept... My desktop is super messy. Yeah, I didn't keep it. Let's just go with... I can upload an asset, so it doesn't have to be something you've generated in Krea. It can be something you have from the web and drop it in, and you can do the same thing that you're about to see. So her image, let's use this one. The original image is blurry. Sometimes Krea does this. It'll reset. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes it gets weird in the vibe, or the UX gets weird. UI gets weird. Okay, so in Enhance, I'm basically telling it the background's blurry. Let's just exit out of this so you can actually see it before I do it. Assets. Here's all my assets from over the years, over the last year. You can see it. Burning the money, making money, burning money. AI and Krea have become pretty close. Here is the image. See how the background's pretty blurry? Not just blurry, but kind of pixelated, low res. Okay, now that we see that, we can go to Enhance. Oops, that's not Enhance, that's real time. Here's what the real time looks like. Crazy. We can go to Enhancer, and we can select the asset. And here I can choose AI strength, resemblance. I think I want it to be a little higher. Clarity, let's make it a little higher. Sharpness, let's make it a little higher. AI strength, let's make it a little lower. And I can tell it I want it to increase the resolution 1x, 2x, 4x, or max. Each one of these costs more money. So keep that in mind as you try to enhance your images. I'll just do 2x, and I'm going to say enhance, and it's thinking, and this is where you can just think of it like, I don't know, remember back in the day when you played Nintendo and there was a game that had coins? That's what's happening right now. All the money is flowing out of my account. The units are being used. It's thinking, it's thinking, it's thinking. Here in a second, we'll be able to see the difference. It has one of those nice sliders. 100% finalized. Come on. There it goes. Okay. So you can see it's telling me that was the original. Here's zoom in. Her face is adding a little more texture. There's a little more clarity to the walls and the buildings. I'm not sure I like the distance any more than I did. Doesn't always do what you want it to do. Sometimes it's not better. It just depends on how much AI strength you use and don't use. But I can tell you, if you have a low res image, this is a good way to get it high res. See, her arm had all that stuff on it. Now it's gone. Subjective. You can play with the strength and the resemblance and the clarity of yourself to get the effect that you want, to make this a higher res picture. Okay, that's the enhancer. So we looked at the image, we looked at the enhancer. Let me show you edit. Edit's pretty fascinating. Same thing. I can drop anything in here and edit it. I'm going to select an asset from my menu. So this was the coffee shop in Malta. I want to change her wrist. Oh, you can choose one or two. I should have chosen one. Two costs me more, but it gives you two variations. Keep in mind, you could take this picture, put it into GPT. Let me just try that real quick. So I'm going to do a screenshot real fast. It'll download it. You can download these things. So here's the difference, right? It gave me the band in black, just like the white. And now, but the second version gave me a phone, like a screen. I don't want that. So most of the time, I'll just do one version of an edit. Let's say change her blouse to light blue with a small yellow flower print. I was saying we can take this picture, we can drop it into AI. Sometimes you would create a new chat. We'll see if this does it. Change the wristband to white. While it's doing that, we'll go back to Krea. See how this is where it was, and this is where it is. I don't think that's what I want, but that's the kind of crazy you get. I might want to change my prompt to say, change her blouse to light blue and a small flower print, keep her jacket as it is probably what I would say. So we can go back to this image and edit it again. This time, you can do some pretty crazy things. We could change her hair to black. Can't type. Make her skin olive tone, like she is from Spain, and put a small on her wrist. Put a small butterfly tattoo on her wrist. Let's see if it does all these things for me. See how weird it gets. So I asked GPT to create, what did I say here? Change the wristband to white is what I asked GPT to do. And this is what it gave me. Not only did it change it to white, but it changed her blouse to blue. It's almost like it's paying attention to what I'm doing in Krea. Now this thing, I don't know about y'all, but every once in a while, the ghost in the machine makes you think that the ghost is listening to you across your different platforms and systems. So how in the world would it know that I was just talking to Krea about light blue blouses? I have no idea. It is a little weird. So it gave me the white. Could I use it? Maybe. I don't particularly like it without her original dress. But my point is, GPT can do these kinds of image editings too. You don't necessarily have to use Krea for your class, for this class. You could try and maneuver through GPT image editing the same way you would Krea. My suspicion is it would go a lot slower and it would be a lot more frustrating. But I don't know that for sure. It's why I don't use it this way. Okay, so we said olive skin. So it got the hair and it got the tattoo, but it didn't change her skin. What I've learned with the editing process is it doesn't like a lot of instruction. It wants you to stay kind of specific to one or two things. So I was able to remember or do the hair and the tattoo. So toggle between here and here. It didn't change anything else. And so when you are working with your assets and you know exactly what you want, or you want to test different colors, you want to test the blouse, you want to test the background lighting, you want to test the skin tone, you want to test the eyeshadow, the eyebrows, the necklaces, the wristbands. AI lets you do that super fast. That's probably not news to a lot of you, but I don't know that a lot of you have actually tried it. And this Krea tool really makes it fast. And like I said, you're gonna burn 119 credits units when you use this, or if you use GPT, you'll use 180. I suggest you to them all. And you can continue to go in there and make lots of edits. I'll give you one more example. It's not, some of you might be using a product. Our drop band has always looked like the, let's see, this is kind of a newer version we're thinking about, but we also have just the regular band. Let me see if I can find it. You know, it looks like this. It's just an NFC chip instead of an elastic band. It's kind of cheap. It feels kind of cheap. So we're trying to elevate the look and feel. We're manufacturing it so that it's a one size fits all instead of having to have different sizes. And so my boss gave me this graphic. Hey, Nathan, we've got a new prototype. This is it. This is the only graphic I got. So this is what it's going to look like. There's going to be a plastic center. You're going to have these clasps on the side so you can size it. I need some new bands. I need some sizzle. Help me build this out and show me what it's going to look like. Okay. So I went to the image editor and I went to ChatGPT and I said, I need best in class image photography for a product, 3D, it's floating in the air and it has a cast shadow. I gave it the image that you just saw. I gave it this image, asked for that, and this was the result that I got. Pretty good stuff. So, but, and I used the same prompt for a couple of other products. You can see I changed the colors. He gave me the same things. Change the colors, switch some things around. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna pause real fast. So I gave it the same image and, let's go down here. Asked it to give me similar bands. You can kind of see the progression. Started here. This is where it started. I continue to prompt it. Gives me a few different angles. Now it's starting to kind of get weird and thick. So I'm maneuvering it a little bit, but not much. Here's the Texas band. It's got a weird stripe down the middle. I didn't ask for that. But we were able to get back to the original Oklahoma band, right? This is the baseline I like. This is high end, looks great. The brand looks good. Let's go. It doesn't have a drop logo in there. It needs a drop logo in there, but in general, it's working pretty well. The Sky Ranch version looks really nice. But I got to SMU and it's doing some weird things down here. Same prompt. I'm using the same thing. I'm just changing out the name of the university and logo and colors, right? Change the colors, change the university, but I want the structure to be the same, but it starts to hallucinate. Another example of a hallucination. Same prompt, didn't ask it to change it, but that's what it gave me. Here I got like a hockey puck. So you have to keep an eye on it. There's no world where these things happen without a human closely working with it and keeping an eye on things and calibrating the prompts as you see fit. And what I do is I usually go back to, if like it starts to go weird like this, I go back to my original success, which would have been like this Texas This Texas version, where is it? Where'd it go? Let's just say it's this one. No, I don't like that one. I go back to my original, which I usually bookmark. I get that prompt, I change it, and I'll put it back in, and I'll get something close to what I wanted. So it's not science. It takes a lot of maneuvering and working, but it's a lot of fun. All right, that's a long. This is a 43-minute lecture. So if you are still with me, thank you. I hope you found this to be useful. Krea is a great resource. I would love it if you all would use a tool of some kind of model in this class. You're going to have to. It can be GPT, it can be Krea, it can be Artlist, it can be whatever you want. I don't really care. The key to success is in your upfront thinking, the creative direction that you provide. You think through the scenario, you understand the audience, all the things that allow you to give the AI direction. The less you know, the less it will know. The more you know, the more it will know. The more cues you can give it, you are the best at, right? You understand composition, you understand photography. You mentored under Ann Getty or some famous photographer. You've worked for the Rolling Stones. Like, adding those slight creative context clues, in my opinion, creates more interesting results. It doesn't mean you're going to get what you want, but you might find it to be a lot of fun. My designs, most of my graphics, all have this same kind of golden light, golden hour kind of vibe, because that's what I was asked to do, or very real, over the shoulder stuff. You can give it all the types of moods and styles of photography. You can give it lens, kind of camera lens you would think you want the camera to look through, like down to the minutia. You can control your prompt, and in the end result will be something I think you really find to be a lot of fun and useful to you. So again, find the reference images, provide the direction, ask GPT to help you write the prompts, read what it does, and I think you'll find, and then you get the creative, and you can use the edit tool to start cranking out versions, change the colors, change the sizes of the person or whatever, backgrounds. Now you've got a relatively fast and accurate and quality resource, tool, a partner in crime to help you build your campaign. Okay? All right. I hope that was useful. If you have questions for me, let me know. I'm here to help. Cheers.